Hello and welcome to Mulch, with me your host Rebecca Anning Brown. This is a weekly podcast for flower farmers who want to build a confident flower farming practice that reflects the lifestyle that you want now and in the future. Each week I'll share conversation and tips to nurture and grow you and your flower farm. I'll open conversations that flower farmers find difficult to talk about, provide approaches that will help you to make decisions, chuckle at the idiosyncrasies of our work, and always be real and honest about my own work as a flower farmer. My goal is to help you to grow a curious, confident and grounded flower farming practice that flourishes as a business that you love and are proud to shout about. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you like what you hear, please do leave a review and share the podcast with your flower farming friends. It really does help to grow a confident and successful flower farming community.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Mulch. I am going to say from the outset that this is a short episode of Mulch and this is being recorded this evening rather than planned as it was during the day. I didn't want to just not show up, but the reality is that the past week or so has been a turbulent return to school in the Silver Grey household, and family life is taking my first priority because that's one of the reasons that I run my own business. I would rather that we produced a focused and short episode than one that is poorly produced and rushed and not completely coherent. So I hope that you'll forgive me for that. Thank you. I wanted to start by telling you that last week I completed our last wedding of the season. And it was also the bridal bouquet of the year for me. I'm incredibly proud of it. It was beautiful, almost vintage in terms of the colours. It was bouncy and it included zinnia that have been a real love for me this year, possibly because I have no dahlia, but they're just such phenomenal flowers when you can get them to work, and it had hydrangea in it and Japanese anemone. It was a real beauty. Honestly, I think I'm most proud of it because when I was cutting the flowers, I felt like I was at sea. It was blowing a gale. It was so windy that my ears had that sense of fullness that you get when you're on a ferry or on a boat and on one of the outside kind of paths. And on top of that, there was that awful and continuous film of thin drizzle. Ugh, yuck. Like it was just no fun. And it's so unlike me to say that about cutting flowers that I thought I would share the story because despite that, I produced what I think is my best bouquet of the year. Enough about me and our weather conditions up here in Yorkshire. How are you? Has autumn reached you in your part of the world? If you're on the other side of the globe, it might well be spring, in which case I hope that the days are getting longer and lighter and the sun is starting to shine. And I'm not going to lie, I'm entirely jealous of you because winter is not my favourite season. I really don't like the short days. Much as I love an open fire, I would much rather it was spring. But spring will come in time. And spring will come after our ground has had a chance to rest and our roots have had a chance to grow of new plants. So it will come. It just takes time and patience. And either way, I'm in spring planning mode. I have finally done my tulip order a lot later than I normally would. And Gemma this morning was pricking out seedlings for me, and we have a big list of kind of autumn clearance jobs to be working through. So it was a satisfying day, if a challenging one too. All of that aside, last week was the first week of the Flower Farming Business School, it was really good to have it out into the world, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of it with you as the weeks goes on. It's really important that I point out now that grow and first steps in flower farming are not happening in any way, shape, or form. That may raise the occasional eyebrow, but essentially everybody who booked on, or everyone who is interested, with the exception of one, has changed their mind. And rather than booking onto the courses, they've all opted to work with me one-to-one, which means that some days of the week are really busy, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know everybody a bit better and working with some people for a short period of time, some people for a longer period of time. I'm really excited about it. So things to look forward to for me, progress to look forward to on flower farms around the country, which is also exciting, but no group courses. I don't know what that means long term for us, but I think it's really important that I'm open and share what's happening behind the scenes. The ranunculus course and the rose course are still going ahead. The ranunculus course is this Wednesday, the 11th of September, and I will be closing the doors for that tomorrow evening probably. I do also have a winner to announce for last week's competition, but I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that right until the end because it's fun, and also I will notify them and pop it up on social media at about the same time. So anyway, back to business. The Flower Farming Business School set sail last week. One of the things that I will talk about this week when it comes to the Flower Farming Business School is how we will work. Because whilst we're called a school, we're definitely not going to run over 3 terms. For a start, that's because most of us can't just take 2 months off over summer like schools or universities do. And also those of you who listen to the podcast regularly will know that I break the year down into quarters. So that's January to March, April to June, July to September, and October to December. And working in quarters runs roughly with the seasons, but it also makes it easier to plan without feeling overwhelmed or like you're trying to get too much down on paper in one go. Working in quarters is also how the Flower Farmers Planner is set out, and you know that that's going to launch for pre-order on Wednesday this week, so that's the 11th of September as well for the launch of the Flower Farmers Planner. That'll be the 3rd edition of the Flower Farmers Planner, which is incredibly exciting. The other reason that we work in quarters is because it allows flexibility. So those of you who came on the business planning for Flower Farmers workshop that we did in January will know that I like to create a business plan that's more of a framework. The framework creates the boundaries that we want to work in and also the ways that we want to plan our priorities and our goals, whether they're financial or whether it's to do with the structure of your flower farm or any of those things. And so whilst we do set a general plan for the year, it's split into quarters, and that just allows us to achieve things, including our earnings, in each section of the year without the rigidity of a business plan that says that in spring I must sell 3,003 bulbs to be able to earn my money, and in summer I must sell 43 dahlia, 56 perennial scabious, and so on and so forth. The numbers are not that exact, but they do all come together when you break things up across the quarters and allow yourself that flexibility. And we are living proof of that because the business is still going and growing, which is incredibly exciting. I think the final thing that it does is it allows you to be quite peaceful and creative in your approach to the year. And by that, I mean that when you have a really rigid plan, there's a sense of urgency to absolutely everything. And I find that quite distracting from the work that we do and the business that we're growing. Whereas when you take away the rigidity, it allows you to head towards the goal over a period of time, knowing where you're going and doing it in small sections. It's a much more peaceful way of working, and it allows creativity with that flexibility. So it might be that some things change slightly, or that you increase an offering by adding elements to it and taking other parts away, or enhance is probably a better word than increase. Whereas if you have a really rigid plan that says that you must sell market bouquets and DIY weddings that all include a bouquet and 3 buttonholes as a minimum, it really restricts your ability to flex and change and create. And for me, creativity is one of the most fun things about running your own business. Potentially I'm too creative, and Anthony's always having to pare back the ideas. But that is a subject for a different day. The final reason that that's the model that we shared is because it's transferable, so it makes it easy for other people to fit their intentions, their goals, their working plans, their desires, their aims to their business, and to fit the model to their business, and then to work with us through the quarters and the year to achieve what they want for their flower farm. So this week, the Flower Farmers Planner will be available for pre-order. Just a small reminder that it is self-produced by us in the UK. So we use a designer in the UK. She's in Wales. Her name is Liz Mosley. Our photographer is Joanne Crawford, and she is in Otley, so she's in Yorkshire with us. And the printers that we're using this year are also in Wales. So our whole production is a series of small family businesses, and I really love getting to know I've really loved getting to know the new printers this year. I've been working with Liz and Joe for a while, so I call them my extended team, or at least part of my extended team, and I really enjoy kind of conversations and emails and work with them. And I guess the point of sharing that with you is that the Flower Farmers Planner then goes out to smaller family businesses. And when I say smaller family businesses, in this case I'm talking about flower farms, because the majority of you are not growing on 70 hectares. You're growing on 1 acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, and organising that using the Flower Farmers Planner. I have really enjoyed hearing your stories about how it's helped you to keep track of your records, how it's helped you to plan your successions, how it's helped you to process and learn more about your flower farm by keeping the records. And I look forward to hearing more of those stories as the years go on. I'm going to stop there for today. If you're not on the Flower Farmers newsletter, please do drop me a message on Instagram or an email. The new email address is rebecca@theflowerfarmingbusinessschool.com. That's rebecca@theflowerfarmingbusinessschool.com. Thank you for listening. I suspect there will be a further episode out later this week when school has settled ever so slightly. But in the meantime, thank you for listening. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Rebecca.
Thank you for listening to Mulch. I hope that you found it useful. To find the show notes, head back to our website where you'll find links to all the things that I've been talking about in today's episode. If you're on Instagram, you can find us at Grey Foliage. I would appreciate it so much if you were able to share this episode in your Instagram stories. And if you are able to leave a review, it really will help more people to get on and grow. I'll be back with you next Monday to talk about more flower farming in practice. Rebecca.